In this demonstration, I'll show you how to factor a trinomial, in other words, a polynomial with three terms, by decomposition. The decomposition method should only be used when your a term, which is the term that contains the x squared value, is greater than 1. And in our case, it is greater than 1. 6 is greater than 1. So, normally you would try to factor something using trial and error, but in this case it will not work because of this term. So what do? Well, you will take the a term and the c term and multiply them together. So it's very important that you rearrange your polynomial. In our case, it is in the proper format, but you should rearrange it in this way, always. Your a term containing the x squared, your b term containing the x, and your c being the constant. So what we're going to start off by doing is we're going to multiply the a term and the c term together. So 6 times negative 5 is equal to negative 30. Now what you will do is you will find two numbers that multiply to negative 30, and at the same time we'll add to the b term being negative 13. So what numbers multiply to negative 30? Well, we got 1 and 30, where each one can be positive or negative. And we also have negative 3 times positive 10 and 3 times negative 10. We also have 6 and 5 and the positive and negative versions of those. Furthermore, you have the combination of 15 and 2 and the positive and negative versions of those. So, which of these combinations could it be? It helps to be good at arithmetic when it comes to factoring trinomials, but from visual inspection it appears that 15 times negative 2 and negative 15 times positive 2 could be the ones. And this one seems like the right combination. Why? Well, negative 15 times 2 is negative 30, and negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. So now that we found the right combination, what we will do is we will decompose this middle term using the two terms that we found, negative 15 and 2. So let me show you. 6x squared minus 15x, and it doesn't matter how you place them. That's not very important. So what I mean is that you can put the 2x term first and the negative 15x term second. It really doesn't matter. So now that we've decomposed negative 13x into negative 15x and plus 2x, what we have to do is we have to factor by grouping. What I mean by that is factor these two terms individually and factor these two terms individually. So, how do we common factor 6x squared minus 15x? What do they both have in common? Well, they both have a 3 in common and an x in common. So if we were to factor out a 3x from both terms, we end up with 2x minus 5. And you'll notice that if you want to common factor 2x minus 5, there's nothing in common. So in this case, we're just going to leave them the way they are. Plus 2x minus 5. There's nothing in common. So once you have found the common factors by grouping, you will now once again look at the whole expression as a whole and see what else could be factored out. Well, if you look carefully, the 2x minus 5 and the 2x minus 5 can be factored out. So if I factor out 2x minus 5, what am I left with? Well, in this term, 3x is left. And in this term, if we factor out 2x minus 5 from the whole thing, we're going to be left with 1. Not nothing, but 1. Okay? A lot of students make the mistake of introducing a 0, but that's not necessarily true. Now, since we factored out 2x minus 5, it also deserves parentheses. And there you have it. That is how you factor by decomposition. I have another example for you, just so that you can strengthen your skills. This time we have 18x squared minus 15 minus 39x. The first thing that you might be tempted to do right away is to multiply 18 and negative 39. But don't do that, because if you look carefully, you can common factor a 3 from the whole thing. So let's do that first. So if we factor a 3, we end up with 6x squared minus 5 minus 13x. And also, you might also be tempted, which I was almost tempted to do, is to multiply the 6 and the negative 13. Now, you can't do that because it has to be in this format. So let's change it into that format first, before we do any damage. And now what you can do is you can start factoring by decomposition. You can do that fairly simply. We start off by multiplying the a and the c term, which gives us negative 30. And you'll notice something fairly similar to what we did above. You notice something similar now? It's the same question. So our final answer becomes 3, 2x minus 5, and 3x plus 1. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If you have any questions related to factoring or any math questions in general, use our website at biology-forums.com. It is a free service for students. I hope to see you there.